Hydroquinone, Skin-ning Landscapes. The project will explore ways of dismantling the pollution of whiteness upon the colonized body through the interrogation of the creation and commercialization of hydroquinone topical products, topical materials of white tropical architecture, as well as the skin over and in between the urban, social, and political network in the city of Kingston. The cosmetic industry has started to remove words such as whitening, fair, and lightening from their skin products in an attempt to stop sustaining prejudices and stereotypes of beauty ideals. L'Oreal is one of the leading skincare brands in the world, and in that is one of the biggest producers of skin bleaching products. Upon significant anti-racism protests, the influential brand took the decision to review skincare products in order to promote a more inclusive vision of beauty. However, what is the significance of removing such words from skincare products when substances such as hydroquinone are still present? Hydroquinone is the most predominant substance found in skin whitening products. The topical application of hydroquinone reduces the production of melanin, a compound which creates skin tone, by inhibiting an important enzyme called tyrosine, which causes cells to produce fewer and more abnormal melanosomes. It's a type of phenol composed by oxygen, hydrogen, and carbon. Both hydroquinone's reactivity and acidity in products creates high skin sensitivity to sun, serious skin diseases, and even skin cancer, especially when it is used for longer than 2 to 3 months or when its concentration on a product is higher than 3%. Many of the countries that have been found to have the highest numbers of consumers of hydroquinone products, such as Jamaica, Nigeria, and India, happen to be very tropical, hot environments, which heightens the risk of skin diseases, as the combination of the use of hydroquinone products with a high exposure to the sun further accelerates the reduction of the thickness of one's skin. Meanwhile, this industry is projecting to £23 billion by the end of 2020. And the companies responsible for such high production of skin bleaching products are located either in Europe, China, or US. Even with the attempt to stop sustaining prejudices and stereotypes of beauty ideals, this industry and its objectives have already left a long trail of superficial pressures throughout many generations. In fact, the history of ideology of beauty has spread its pressures amongst many industries, and its consequences, whether social, political, or environmental, were and still are very much significant. For instance, the use of the Kodak Shirley cards represents a technology of photography that was designed on the basis of a global assumption of whiteness as the norm, and towards this norm other skin colors were made deviant. The use of the Polaroid ID2 camera for passbooks in the time of the apartheid regime in the 1950s by the South African government represents a technology that was used to maintain a system of racial segregation. And the moment a black citizen was captured by the ID2 camera, this regulation became possible. Generally, the history of whitewashing, for example, in magazines and film, the appearance of dark skin was lightened during the post-production process in order to generate more engagement or sales. Maximum capitalization was always the main objective. Finally, the issues that arose with the emergence of facial recognition, where dark skin is invisible to its softwares. There are also the very same softwares that misrecognize individuals in services such as policing, loan decisions, and job interviews, lowering their chances at fair recognitions. In all these instances, the industry has made explicit its bias towards global whiteness, and such events have built up across the years. The commercialization of skin bleaching products, and therefore the capitalization of the skin, is one of the consequences that arises from this notion of the normativity of whiteness. In this context, whiteness is used as a way to sell products, using the colonized body, materializing such bodies, and subsequently creating materialized spaces. By defining whiteness as a global pollutant that needs to be dismantled, the different readings of the word skin are analyzed through the architectural urban context of Kingston, Jamaica, against its social, political, and environmental context. When colonized by the Crown in the 1800s, tropical architecture was introduced in Jamaica from the merging of British Georgian architecture and the need for functionality to withstand Jamaica's tropical climate. Such buildings were built to withstand heat, earthquakes, humidity, hurricanes, and insects, as well as meet hygienic targets. Such sugar plantation mansions are houses built on sites of sugarcane harvested by enslaved peoples. These buildings that continue to perpetuate the past presence of violence within those spaces. Meanwhile, in the 1800s, whiteness in Britain was in many ways exposed as a farce. The impacts of the industrial era, such as the topical settlements of smoke, demolished the persistence of the association of whiteness with the pristine and the clean. Experimenting with the different notions of the word skin, using Afrofuturistic notions as a vehicle, I firstly analyzed the envelope of Jamaican colonial white buildings. The use of white paint in the envelope of the imposed Georgian buildings is a direct response to the need of its integration into the tropical environment. And it was used as it is a material of high solar reflectance and thermal emittance. White paint comprises of 6 chemical inputs: polymers, plasticizers, additives, pigments, solvents, and fillers. Up until the 1920s, its pigment natural ore was generally lead. However, titanium dioxide started to be used instead as a safer option. Titanium dioxide imparts whiteness, brightness, and opacity when incorporated into a coating. Both hydroquinone and titanium dioxide can be found in whitening products, which are topically applied to the skin surface of the body and of the built environment, respectively. Throughout time, these forms of oppression became more and more personalized, from a larger scale of the building to the very molecular scale of the components within the skins of bodies. One common chemical component is benzene, a derivative of crude oil. So when tracing back to the origins of the components present in both substances, they represent forms of extraction. In addition, the production, transportation, and waste management of white paint has further environmental implications, from its extraction origins to the locations in which it is distributed. Beyond the architecture, the analysis of the encapsulating urban skin and societal patchwork that branches over the various neighborhoods within Kingston, known initially as garrison constituencies, will demonstrate how socially pollutant whiteness can be. In post-colonial capital city Kingston, the emergence of segmentation and fragmentation policies, namely on ethnic, social, and cultural barriers, is one of the tactics used to demographically rearrange the city. It was done in such a way that the best neighborhoods or housings were for a very long time strictly reserved for the white or mixed race elite, such as Red Hills, Norbrook, Cherry Gardens, and Stone Hill, while the others of society remained confined in downtown slums of Kingston. Even so, even within oppressive spaces, minorities have created avant-garde subcultures, lifestyles, and religions. All Jamaican musical genres, from skia to dancehall, the rude boy subculture, the sound system culture, and the Rastafari religion, amongst others, are by now intrinsic to global popular culture. As a mode of operation that uses narratives of temporality to envision a better future, in the present but rooted in the traces of the past, Afrofuturism aids in interrogating the architecture and the urban network constructed over the years throughout the many neighborhoods. It will be used to represent future speculative visions of architectural interventions into the urban, suburban, and social environments in Kingston. On the other hand, these infrastructural landscape-like interventions are also realistic, in the sense they are set in the present, as they suggest a solution to the abolition of racist systemic urban policies and structures that promote segregation and gentrification. From being reasoned from the ground in order to allow for underground space for the captivity of slaves, to being some of the most notable remnants of colonial history, these tropical buildings are viewed as focal points within that landscape. The topical interventions of white tropical buildings represent poetic memorials to the brutality of what that typology historically entailed. Thank you.